So here we go. On 3, 2, 1. We are speaking with the one and only Jeff Blue. His new book is called One Step Closer, and it details a little bit the story of Linkin Park, Hybrid Story, and some of the other bands he's been involved with. And as we say here in Montreal, bonjour, Jeff. Comment allez-vous? How are you?
¿Cómo está? Muy bien.
Yeah, muy bien. Yeah, that's right.
We're in Southern California. I'm doing great. Glad to be here. And I should grab the book and show it. Do you have it to show? Like, the whole, the visual? Hold on one second. If you see my dog in the background, then, he's the most important guy. But
because
there you go. For those home gamers, this is the book. It's called One Step Closer. Yeah. And details the story of how Hybrid Theory, the album, came to be, and the biggest selling debut album of the 21st century, to give it a shameless plug. But yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I want to get into. And I also want to talk about some of the other bands you've been involved with, including Macy Gray, including DJ Ashba and Beautiful Creatures. It's an interesting arc. So let me get into this. Talk to me just about the book first. In terms of the story you wanted to tell, it does detail the story a lot about Linkin Park, a lot about Hybrid Theory. Talk to me about how your story tells through that. How does it play out through that, the telling of that other story?
Well, the whole story starts about when I lectured at UCLA, and it kind of goes back from there and then forward. So I was teaching at UCLA while I was working at this company, publishing company called Zomba Music Publishing, and I had just signed a woman named Macy Gray, who nobody liked. She had been passed on by every record label. Her publisher dropped her, manager dropped her, etc. And I was looking for an intern at UCLA because that is where I had actually discovered what A&R was. And A&R, for those people at home, is artist and repertoire. And we are blessed with the job to go out and discover new artists and potentially develop them. And that's what I like to do. So the book starts about me lecturing at UCLA looking for an intern, and this young kid named Brad Delson, raised his hand, and he said he actually liked the Macy Gray demo. He was like the only kid there. It was this rock kid, and I was playing neo soul, and the kid literally showed up at my office. I thought unannounced because I don't remember scheduling a meeting with him, but it was in my office. Super confident, bordering on arrogance, which I liked. And literally told me that he had a band that was going to be bigger than the bands on my wall, which at the time were Matchbox 20, Korn, and Limp Bizkit. And I just go like, I like this kid, So
confident, but he got rejected like 40 times. So
yeah, I signed. I hired him as my intern, and then a few weeks later, he threw a demo tape on my desk, and it was his band Xero, which wasn't that great, and it goes through the whole process. I ended up going to see his band, the first show they ever played, and it was at the Whisky, and they were opening up for System of a Down and SX10, Send Dog's band from Cypress Hill. And I was just like, man, I like this kid, and they need a lot of work. But I signed their band after the first show they ever played.
Which is amazing. So talk to me about being an A&R guy, because what do you see in a band? And I was talking to the Papa Roach guys yesterday, and I was telling them, what? I used to work at Metal Hammer, and I got your Infest album, and right off the bat, first play, I went, that's a star band. And you could just tell that they were at this other level. But for you as an A&R guy, for me as a rock critic, it's easy. It sounds great. What are you looking for where you go, okay, this band is going to be at this level? I mean, is it look? Is it confidence? Is it the songs? Because, there are some bands that have great careers, but they don't really have great songs, but they sell themselves really fucking well. So what are you looking for?
Well, first of all, Jacoby is and their story is in my book too, because they came to my office as a music publisher looking for a development deal, which is what I was doing with this band called Xero at the time, which became Hybrid Theory, which became Linkin Park.
Let me just ask you real quick.
Jacoby,
did you tell Jacoby lose the trombone player? Was that you?
No, that was not me. But Jacoby helped me, writing the book, and we talked a lot about it when I was doing all the research. But as a publisher, I was looking for artists to develop. because by the time they were signed to a record label, it was too expensive to acquire their publishing. Publishing and A&R and record labels are completely different. Just for people at home, publishing is something where the company owns the copyrights. The record label owns the masters. And then usually the 360 included all the touring and whatnot. So I was working as a publisher at doing A&R, discovering artists. And no matter what, even as a record person or publisher, I always look for something that's iconic. And that could be a guitar tone. It doesn't have to be vocals, but it's 95% vocals. So an iconic sounding vocal. I also worked with this guy, Daniel Powder from Canada, who had a bad day and had this really quirky vocal. Macy Gray has a quirky vocal. Jonathan Davis has an identifiable voice. Fred Durst does. These are different artists I worked with. And obviously, when I found Chester, I immediately found that he had a beautiful, iconic voice. So I look for an iconic sound, whether it's a guitar tone, drum sound, anything like that, that immediately you can identify as, oh, that is this or that artist. And I'm sure there's a million of those, such as Queen comes to mind, and Metallica.
Steven Tyler.
Oh yeah, there's just anybody that you can come to mind. They're identified.
Millions.
Anything. So authenticity, meaning literally you speak your truth. There's a vulnerability in you that is believable, that you are literally connecting with somebody on a different level. And you just don't sound like you're trying to do every other band, be every other artist out there. That's the trend of the moment. Star power, the ability to connect on stage, but actually engage somebody in general. There's a lot of very boring people out there that don't connect. Great talent. And I've dealt with some people, and that is an issue. It's that urgency that you get when you're engaged with somebody or somebody's on stage. Then of course, hit songs. And, I delve into that a lot as a songwriter myself. I'm very, very hyper aware of every second of every song being utilized to its maximum, and hooks, and making those hooks grab you. And then
I gotta say, by the way, I love your thinking, because sometimes you hear these 12-minute songs and you go, oh, really? Can we just get to the chorus and don't bore us, please?
Right. Well, if you listen to the Hybrid Theory record, that's 38 minutes long. And I was insane about going, hey, this is unnecessary. This bridge is unnecessary. Let's cut the core of the intros down until, there's certain iconic, like in the end, exactly, that's immediately that piano line. That's iconic. Mike Shinoda was great at that, but every second was utilized. And then, of course, a great artist allows you to feel like you belong. And that's the ability for them to connect. And, that is what Chester did so well. God rest his soul. That guy literally, even in person, made you feel like he was right. His lyrics and his emotive behavior, his performance was connecting with you. And they're like, oh my God, I feel that same way. Yeah. And that's what I look for in an artist.
That's what you look for in an artist. And just real quick, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, but you mentioned publishing. These days, Mercurius and Primary Wave are buying pretty much everything. Good for Primary Wave, by the way. What do you think of that now that publishing is starting to get into these sort of 2 or 3 hands? Urban Azoff is also buying a lot. I mean, publishing is becoming like just 3 principal owners in a sense. Good, bad? I mean, it's good for the artist, right? They're cashing in, sort of, kind of.
It all depends. I mean, again, you don't have to do a publishing deal. I always looked at publishing, the way I did it was as helping an artist, not just as a bank. But Merck's a super hyper intelligent guy. I actually, when I was at Zomba years and years and years ago, wanted to buy catalogs, and they didn't want to do it. I brought in a lot of cool stuff. I'm like, that's not going to get used that much. And, so I agree with that. There's catalogs are extremely valuable. They're iconic songs that can, a lot of the income comes in from film and TV placement. So, why not? It's your music. You should be able to do, publishers generally work to exploit your catalog, which should be done. And I've worked with a lot of publishers that really didn't do much. So, good for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's great in terms of the helping the artist. Back to the bands that you helped set up. How do you differentiate in terms of genre? Because going from Macy Gray to Limp Bizkit to Linkin Park, I mean, it's not the same audience. It's not the same market. It's not the same thing. So how do you go? Macy's got something. Linkin Park got something. Why not just be like the hair guy and say, all right, I need 5 rats. Let's go.
Yeah, not at all. I love music. So as a kid, I was, and this goes back years and years ago. Uh, I was bused into Los Angeles schools, and so on the bus ride, I was listening to Van Halen, Zeppelin, AC/DC. Pretty much that was it. And then I was in school and I was listening to Grandmaster Flash and a whole Michael Jackson, and it was a very diverse group that I was interacting with. And so immediately from my youth, my parents would only listen to Barry Manilow and Neil Diamond. So I loved it all. I loved disco, hard rock, soft rock, some country from the time. So I was exposed to everything, and I didn't go, oh, that's not cool. I thought everything was cool.
Yeah.
So I had the ability, like in any given day up to this day, I will listen to certain times of day hits from the 70s because I love those old, pop songs. When I'm working out, I listen to hard rock and new stuff. One of my best friends is in this band, Grandson. Jordan's just incredible vocalist, Grandson. And then I'll listen to R&B and chill stuff, hip hop in the evening. So, and then I also listen to country. Depending on my mood when I'm running in the canyon, I'll listen to that a lot. So I have always had the ability. One of my favorite artists was Nina Simone and Billie Holiday. So that was my chill stuff. And that's when I got to be introspective. And so when I heard Macy Gray, I was signing all these rock bands and I heard Macy's voice. I'm like, that is an iconic voice. I just lost my shit. I was like, I've got to work with her, and nobody wanted to work with her. I had to actually track her down and convince her to get back into the music business. She was done with it. So I'm extremely passionate and super into music. And when I hear something that excites me, there's no stopping. So that's why I've always been that guy looking for new artists. I don't care if they've had 10 million followers, if they have 2 followers. If there's a great voice there and they're talented, I want to know about them. And that's why I get so many artists coming to, work with me and, help build their careers. And I've gotten so many artist deals.
Yeah, and that's refreshing to me, by the way, because I'm known for the rock stuff, but every so often on Twitter I'll say, hey, the Duran something. People go, oh, you can't talk about them. They're not rock. And I'm like, who cares? I love them. They got great songs.
Well, the deal is this, man, is that any song is a song. It's a pop song. Doesn't mean it's pop. If you break down any type of song and it's good, you can do it in any flavor of any ways, any genre. And that makes a great song. That's when you've got something great. If you can play it acoustically and break it down and then put, different elements behind it, that is a great song.
Fully agreed.
To be honest, like when the Linkin Park guys, they listened to Depeche Mode, but also I was working for Jive Records, which was the publishing company, Zomba, and they were listening to all the Backstreet Boys stuff, and they realized those songs were incredibly well structured. And you could make one of those, any of those songs super hard, put heavy guitars behind it, it's still going to be a damn good song. So
I agree. I agree. So let me get into Linkin Park for a little bit, because I remember at the time, listen, I was all into the Def Leppard and to the Scorpions and all that. And we had that downwards curve and then Nirvana and all this. And then Linkin Park comes out. And it's one of the first times we have 2 vocalists or 2 guys trading. And that was unique. And at first I sort of went, well, what the is that? And a lot of people said that, but you went with it. And of course it worked. Talk to me about that. Did you ever sit them down and say, listen, get one vocalist, you need your Steven Tyler, you need your whatever? Or were you like, nope, we're going to create something new here?
The irony is there's 2 ironic situations in that. I always thought that was very unique, yet we showcased 44 times and we're told 44 times the band sucks. They don't have hit songs. There's no star there. And everybody said it sounds like everything else. You're late to the party. And I'm like, this doesn't sound like anything. I go, there's 2 guys here, 2 frontmen that are amazing. And for the people that don't know, there was an original singer before. So I had, that was another big, insanely tough thing where I had to replace the original vocalist because he just wasn't cutting it. Great guy, super talented, and ended up becoming an amazing manager for artists like Taproot and System. But to me, that was an iconic thing, and it had to blend. So those 2 elements really needed to blend really well. And then, ironically, when I finally get this band signed as part of my employment deal to go to Warner Brothers, by the time I got out of my contract to go to actually physically be at Warner Brothers, the guy who hired me was let go, and the new boss that came in had already passed on the band 3 different times, 3 separate showcases passed on the band. So now he's our guy in charge at the label, and he made that suggestion. He goes, just have Chester, get rid of the rapper. And so we went through that, and it's detailed and agonizing, traumatic detail
in the book.
Book. And it was extremely difficult on me, knowing that Mike Shinoda is the guy that really was the impetus and the creative structure behind that band. Chester was and is one of the most beautiful, impactful voices of our the last 30 years. But you cannot have Linkin Park without the dual aspect of that, hard-hitting transition between, the rap, the singing, and the vocals and the melodies. And so I did have to deal with that with Linkin Park, and we stood by it, and we Mike in there, but it was a very difficult process, one to this day, which it was very traumatic for him and me.
Listen, I started doing this reporting stuff in '96, and I remember people going, "No, it's never going to work, too vocal. What are they thinking?" And it's like, well, they proved you wrong, didn't they?
Yeah,
it worked pretty darn good. Let me just ask you. You went over to Warner's, and around the end of the '90s, the early 2000s, you start developing this band, Beautiful Creatures, with DJ Ashba. Talk to me a little bit about the thinking behind that, because you had, of course, a lead singer from an 80s band. You had these different bit players, and you were sort of like reinventing the wheel, sort of saying, hey, you know what, Def Leppard fans, we've got a band for you. What was the sort of the thinking behind Beautiful Creatures, and why did it sort of just peter out after doing the Ozfest and stuff?
Well, there's a reason for everything. So I liked the band a lot. I actually liked Joe and his band Bantango. I was in there because of DJ Ashba, and he was an absolute star. The guys in the band were all really strong. There's a guy, Kenny Queens. And I did think there was room and there was a need for guitars, because at that time, in 2000, 2001, it was not cool to have any guitar solos.
Right. Totally stripped out of music.
It was a big no guitar solos. Everything's steering away from guitars. And I know everything is cyclical. So I meet DJ, and I'm like, this guy is incredible. He's charismatic. He's great. He makes you feel like you belong. And he's an insane guitar player. So that is a life lesson, where DJ was the strength of the band. The only part of the equation that wasn't great was he was the strongest point in the band, which you don't want to have your guitar player be stronger than the vocalist. And we got a lot of flack on the vocalist. I thought the album was great. It was one of the first things that I also co-produced that, and I had a lot of songs I wrote on that record a lot. And I thought there were some really great songs. The new head after the other guy who didn't like Linkin Park, the guy who came in, hated the band, Beautiful Creatures, and basically dropped him. Oh, he did drop him.
Well, he did drop him. No, because it was interesting, because I was doing interviews back then, and they'd say, you can't ask about Bantango. It doesn't exist. Just ask about Beautiful Creatures. And I'm like, so you're trying to hide the fact? And it was just very strange. And anyway, I saw them at Ozfest. They were great. The 2 albums are great. But they were trying to sort of cover up the fact that there was an 80s association.
There was a big stigma attached. It was like, it made him seem old. That was the thing. It made him seem old.
Yes.
And he really wasn't that old. Anyways, long story short, the band got dropped. It was horrible. So I worked really hard on that, and I still talk to DJ all the time. He's super talented, and he went on, obviously, to play with Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue. He's just a phenomenal guy. So you can't. The thing that people don't understand is they think it's all up to me. All the decisions are coming through me. My job as an A&R person is to nurture, facilitate, get that record going through, and finish the record, make it, help market it, and put the vision out there so the world can hear it. But there's always people above you, no matter what. There's always a CEO and one guy above that guy. And if they don't like it for some reason, or they don't like the sound, or one of the guys in the band, which is the case in this situation,
there's not much you can do. And of course,
it's a lot of politics, unfortunately. So now that's why artists will come to me, and I will help develop and go, hey, this is how you also avoid these roadblocks. And I learned a lot about that in writing the book. again, which we'll plug right here.
Yes,
This
one
book,
step closer.
One Step Closer, wherever your books and everything's sold.
Yes.
So yeah, it goes into all that. The book discusses what it takes to persevere, because you will hit roadblocks all the time. You know,
You'll hate gatekeepers, as I like to call them, the wonderful gatekeepers.
Yeah, and we don't know everything all the time. You know, I've like there's plenty of things that I'm. One of my faults is I'm always early. Oh, too early. Like Linkin Park, I was 3 years early. Machine Gun Kelly, I brought to Atlantic Records a year before anybody even heard his name, and they passed. You know, I brought in Nickelback, the first show they ever played in the back of a record store in Vancouver, and they wanted to do a deal for $4,000. So many different artists. I like finding stuff early. So in the position I have now, where I consult for labels, but I also develop, I'm able to have that time, because record labels are not going to develop you. They're going to sign you based on your fan base, your social metrics. Yeah. It's horrible. So there's a lot of different ways where artists can facilitate and expand their career, you know, whether it's just playlists and knowing the right people, or film and television. So I'm also doing a soundtrack right now. Soundtracks have been essential in breaking artists. I did there's an artist I had that was a pop artist that the guys lived with me, and I got them. They were called The Last Good Night. We had a #1 song in 9 countries, and it all stemmed from a TV show. But we won a BMI award out here, and Daniel Powder was broken by a television show. Lots of different artists, The Fray. But long story short, there's a lot of different ways to step up your career outside of just having great
songs. Absolutely. I'll keep reminding folks, One Step Closer is available now. Now, you just mentioned Nickelback, and I'm a Canadian, and they get a lot of hate. I happen to think they're great. I think when you see them play live, they can't be touched. I mean, they're just spectacular live. Just out of curiosity, why do you think they have that reputation? And ultimately, isn't that just good PR, because they're always being talked about?
It's not the best. I mean, it's just like Limp Bizkit also gets a lot of hate. And I think they're freaking great. I mean, I love Chad. Chad and I joke all around. He almost did a publishing deal with me for $4,000. My boss is the one who didn't want to do a $4,000 deal with this unknown band. So no, I think he has an iconic sound. Sometimes artists become a parody of themselves. That sound everybody emulated at the marbles in your mouth. He was the first guy. I honestly don't know why, but yeah, they had some incredible songs. And I think one of the things is they kept, and with all due respect, Chad, they kept basically reproducing the same song, the same formula, but that works for a ton of different artists,
AC/DC, 50 years.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, but and then same thing with Limp Bizkit. People just decided to hate, that was, they were everywhere. When you're everywhere, people start to hate on you. It's just
it's ridiculous. I've seen Limp Bizkit live, and they're great too. So,
dude, Fred is freaking amazing. I still talk to DJ Lethal all the time. He helped me with the book. Man, I don't know. It's just people, people love to hate. There's more haters than, people who actually go out and support you. And that's one of the things you have to also learn about this business that you're getting into. If you're a musician, and I do talk about it in the book, is that there's always somebody out there ready to hate. People love to throw shade, and people love to tell you why you're not good. You need to actually find your strengths, focus on them, have the belief in yourself. Listen to those haters, because there always is a modicum, like 1 iota of 1% truth behind everybody's comment, but follow your own vision. Take everybody's comment and analyze it. Go, hey, you know what? Maybe they're right about something. And that is what we did with Linkin Park at a point. Enough people said, hey, look, that vocalist isn't hitting it. And so we decided to actually get rid of the lead vocalist, which is the most important part of a band. And wait, and by a miracle, I found Chester, in Arizona, while I was drinking at the Four Seasons Hotel at South by Southwest. And it was a random occurrence. I just called up this guy without ever hearing his voice, and said, hey man, we have this killer band called Xero from Los Angeles. They're about to blow up, and he told me it was his birthday. And I'm like, oh, that's great. I go, you should leave your birthday and go record this demo tape. And this kid did it. And his name was Chester Bennington. And, he changed a lot of people's lives all over the world. So, end of the day, you just got to make your mark. You've got to have that drive. Any artist and anybody doing anything, any type of career, you have to have that drive, because that is what's going to propel you past all those haters
Yep.
and really make your statement in your career. And you have to hold strong to your vision. And when I say listen to the haters, I only say that in that one instance where somebody is objective and maybe they're right about something. And maybe that little change will be the catalyst for everything that makes, all the pieces fit together with your project.
Yeah, absolutely. On that, I'll remind the folks, One Step Closer, fascinating read. I thought it was compelling. And there we go. Jeff Blue, thank you, sir. And thank you for contributing to the music that makes our lives better. I mean, it's
man, thank you very much. Thank you to all the artists out there who just follow their passion and their truth, because that's how I do it. I'm a musician myself and, a songwriter, and I started as a journalist, and that is what enabled me to really help analyze and communicate with people, breaking music down into a language, that you can communicate with and guide. And it's such a rewarding thing to find artists who you can have that relationship with and engage with and create something special. So I love my life, and I'm glad to be here. And I look forward. I actually just found an artist through the book who reached out to me and said it changed her life. And I listened to her music and it was incredible.
Wow.
And we're in the process of making an album for her. And
good.
I think she's gonna,
bring us the next Macy. We need more.
Oh no, this girl is like Billie Eilish meets Eminem.
Oh, well, my daughter will love that. And by the way, my daughter loves Billie Eilish and Machine Gun Kelly. So you've done well.
Why didn't you? I didn't get to sign either one, but yeah, I did bring them, or I brought in Machine Gun Kelly. But yeah, man. Well, thank you so much. So yeah, and then you shout out the socials. If people want to reach me, you can reach me at Jeff Blue Music on Instagram. Is probably the best way.
Yep.
On my other socials.
And
Facebook.
I've got the website over here, jeffbluemusic.com as well.
And I'm changing that over right now. It's Century Park Entertainment. That's CENTURY Park Entertainment .com, but it's centuryparkent.com.
There you go. Merci beaucoup, as we say in Montreal. Thank you so much.
Taco. All right. Sounds great.
Let me stop the recording.